Okay, this is me again with my pendulum, and I'm trying to make an escapement for powering this thing. One of the interesting things about building things is that you have as you're building something that you're visualizing in your head, you come up with improvements, and you come up with compromises that shape the final product. And it's kind of an interesting step, but you almost have to build something so you can visualize it better. So I'll show you over here my pendulum on the axle. Oh, that's pretty dark. Well, on the axle of the pendulum, I don't have a whole lot of room to put something there. I figured I'd just mount a pulley, not a pulley, a belt, from the pendulum shaft to my powering mechanism. So I have some parts here, a wheel, I believe, no, I think it's a flywheel from an old Mercedes engine. So I got some precision there, but I took the ratchet principle to use in my escapement. And I'm not sure if I can explain this properly, but I just get this idea out here. This is not what I'm going to use, but it's kind of something I'm using to visualize. This is very large scale. But if you can imagine this being the top of the pendulum, not the top of the pendulum, but if you can imagine this axle being the axle of the pendulum, and the pendulum swinging below here. So this thing's, swinging like this, whoom, whoom. So this is just the top of the pendulum, all right? This is the axle. This is just an extension of the pendulum. So what I have here is a little catch. This bar that goes across is able to catch on these teeth. Okay, so my design here is that I'd attach wind cable around here so that there's a constant force pulling this thing this way. Okay, so I wrap, I can make this bigger, bigger, smaller, but I wrap my cable around here and drop my weight so there's a constant pull on this guy right here. So what happens is, right here I would have a locking mechanism, just a little thing that sticks in here that locks there. Okay, so this pendulum is going to come back. Now I can't I'm not able to explain this very well without having this set up a little bit. Not sure if that's gonna work or not. Okay, so whoops here. Okay, there you can see. Okay, so here let's just have a little. So the pendulum is going to come, it's going to be swinging like this. Okay, and the pendulum, this is the top side of the pendulum swinging below here. Okay, so what happens is this thing comes back and catches there and pushes this thing back a little bit, and when the pendulum goes front, it goes like this, the whole thing tilts, and then this tooth here catches. Okay, but this thing continues because the pendulum's swinging, right? Meanwhile, the tooth that was pushing falls down. so that when the pendulum comes back, it misses, okay? Comes back, hits this ratchet, unhooks it, and takes it forward. And right now the wheel is powering the pendulum, okay? Takes it forward. This thing right here would catch, and this thing keeps going, okay? Meanwhile, the tooth that was pushing the pendulum rod forward falls down so that the pendulum can come back again, okay? Pendulum comes back again, hits that ratchet, takes it a little farther, unlatches it, and this thing powers forward. And right here, this thing here, this little tooth catches again. Or I could also have the tooth in the bottom here catching. But what I'd have is a little, for this tooth here that catches, I'd have a little flipper. Here that catches like this, okay? And when this arm comes around, and hits this tooth, takes it a little beyond, I could have two magnets, opposing magnets, to push that little catching mechanism back. Let's go forward. Now, the problem with this design is that I'd only want, what I would really like to do is have, right now I have 3 ratchets on here, okay? I have 3 ratchets, I'd like to have 4. So this only powers the pendulum part of one way, okay? And the way this thing is here, this would work well if the pendulum was tied directly to here. But for my pendulum setup, I cannot fit this thing right here on the I cannot fit this on the pendulum shaft. But this is the idea I want to use, and if you have any suggestions, any improvements on it, I have many improvements to do on this thing, but I'd like to have some ideas on what you think about this. One of the problems, I like the simplicity of this. I mean, it sounds complicated. It looks complicated, but really it's simple. You know, it's a simple. Comes back, flips it, takes it, and then the wheel takes it forward. And it comes back, flips it, the wheel takes it forward. Comes back, flips it, the wheel takes it forward. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to scale this down to a small fist size. That way I can fit it on my shaft, which could be a challenge. And we're gonna have to do some fine machining to get all those ratchet mechanisms to where they catch at the right place. But the beauty about this is that, so let's say you want to power the pendulum separate from its own shaft. So let's say we take this thing, mount it up there, and run an arm from here to the pendulum. So the pendulum's going like this, okay? The pendulum's going like this, which makes this arm go like this, okay? Now I can extend this, put a bolt on here. I mean, put a long bolt on here, and I can extend. I can adjust the movement of this by adjusting how far up and down the arm is on the pendulum bob and adjusting how far this is to where the arm attaches. And so in that regard, this ratcheting system, having this axle that the powering system is on, having this separate from the pendulum bob, from the pendulum axle, is that I can adjust. You know, if I don't with pendulum, if I have this on the pendulum, I have to have this exactly 180 degrees or maybe a little less, depending on what my pendulum swings. But if I have this separate, I can adjust this however I want. This thing here could only be moving this far. But my pendulum bob could be moving a whole 180 degrees. But if I attach this to the axle of the pendulum, this thing has to move as much as the pendulum does. Which I guess wouldn't be a problem if I'd only, if I'd make 4 of these ratchet systems, 4 of these ratchet teeth on this wheel, on this powering wheel. And then this ratchet would only power the pendulum for 1/4 of a turn. Right now, this wheel would power the pendulum every 3rd time the wheel goes around. So I kind of like this ratchet system better than any of the other escapements I've seen, simply because you could adjust so many things. But I'm afraid with my setup, I'm gonna have to be better off, and it's gonna be more efficient if I put the ratcheting system on the axle of the pendulum itself. Because if I start with this, why, I'm gonna have to. There's gonna be a lot of adjusting. It's gonna be nice to be able to adjust, but there's gonna be a lot more friction involved, and I think I'm gonna be better off just scaling this down. So this is the update. Just to let you guys know I'm still working on this. It's annoying when somebody starts a project and never finishes it. So hopefully posting these videos will keep me going. But until then, the next video might be a while, maybe a couple months. But this is what I'm working on, and this is kind of my idea. Yeah.